全部在这里住，还剩我一个人，一家人在这里。
就你一家人在这，邻居朋友都去加拿大。
我的朋友，身边的朋友全部去了，
走了80%。
95%了。
I mean, I feel like I'm transported back to a time before my parents were even born. And I'm wondering what's going to happen to this place. I wonder if it'll still be here. Hello.
We are in
Taishan. But which part of Taishan?
We are in
Haikou. And Haikou means mouth of the river, and this is exactly what you are probably imagining. This is the place where overseas Chinese embarked on their journeys overseas. This is the port where hundreds of thousands, perhaps more, of Taishanese immigrants or immigrants from all over Guangdong Province went abroad to seek better opportunities, either on their own volition or they were sold into slavery, practically, to work in the gold mines, the railroads. And the reason they were such early pioneers was China was undergoing a lot of famine, a lot of very harsh circumstances. So people migrated abroad. They ran all sorts of businesses, such as laundromats, restaurants. Worked on the transcontinental railroad, in the mines during the gold rush, and they sent money back home, for their families and fellow villagers to have better lives. And now we're walking through the historic area of Taishan right now. You can see behind me, all of these are historical buildings that were built, with funding from that was money that was sent back by those immigrants. You see it's kind of like a combination of Western style and Chinese style. Every building is just so fascinating. I mean, think about this, right? These were just very poor farming villages. And to have buildings like this back in the 1920s and 30s, that's crazy. So we're gonna keep walking around and we'll talk a little more about Taishan history. We have a lot to learn, so. We can't go in because it said the building is dangerous. It seems like it's in the 90s. The school is still operational in the 90s because these school rules are very representative of the school rules, right? Like I had it was built by the blood and sweat and tears that crystallized of our, from our overseas Chinese. You know how you forget certain little details in your childhood? That's what I feel right now. This feels like a typical Chinese classroom setup during the 90s. I used to sit at one of those, see? You got your little cubicles. Look, we found over here is a series of 3 different mansions.
I think it's really interesting to see the architecture, the stained glass, the arches, the terraces.
These mansions were built in the 1920s by the Weng family. So the Weng family were local people who immigrated to Hong Kong and came back, and they built these 3 villages. They also donated money to the school we saw earlier. Just so impressive. I mean, I'm already imagining, what life must be like for those people. But also it's completely abandoned.
walking through what is a very abandoned village. The buildings here have not been maintained, and the nature has taken over. What do you think of this village?
It looks like a very prosperous village at times. I mean, I can see streets and buildings reminiscent of, activity. I can see the people, opening all sorts of shops and restaurants around here. But right now it's completely abandoned. I think we saw a total of 2 families living here, right? And I'm wondering what's going to happen to this place. I mean, next time we come here, which is probably going to be for a bit, I wonder if it'll still be here. Right. We mentioned earlier that the founder of this village was born in Malacca. The buildings in this village may look very familiar to you if you ever have been to Malaysia, Malacca, Ipoh, Penang, or even Singapore, because more than 5 million immigrants, mostly from Guangdong Province, went to Malaysia starting in the 1800s to work in fishing, tin mining, rubber plantations, and brought back this Nanyang-style architecture to their homeland. The founder also cared a lot about education and built a school for the community. We passed by this beautiful school at the entrance of the village. It was built in 1924 by the Tan family, and what's really unique about the school is the top floor is a classroom and the bottom floor is a family temple. Taishan's geography is characterized by mountains with pockets of fertile land that grow Taishanese rice, and rivers where yellow eel abound. The people here were very creative and resourceful and invented one of the most iconic dishes of Taishanese cuisine. Let's go try it. Okay, we are at this busy restaurant in the middle of farmlands. Literally, I thought there wasn't going to be any food options, but we kept driving. We found this super local place, but it's packed. And we ordered their signature, their eel clay pot rice. We're waiting for about an hour. We're starving, but the special thing about the clay pot rice here, they cook it over with wood.
Yellow eel clay pot rice is a specialty of Taishan.
Oh my god, it's so different from any other clay pot rice I've tried. Because, wow, the eel is like super fresh. It doesn't have any bones in it. The other clay pot rice we had in Thailand also eel, right?
Wow. The eel is very soft. There's no bones in it at all. They took out the bones. And it's not overly fishy.
Just like so fresh. The infusion of flavors they have in this, like in the rice, you can taste the broth, the freshness of the fish, but also seasoned lightly with soy sauce, ginger, scallion. Not very oily either.
Yeah.
And it comes in this like huge pot. And we ordered just like 1 pound for 2. You order by weight here, which I was a little confused. Like, how much should I order? I have no idea. But I think 1 pound or 1 jing, half a kilo, is enough for 2 people. It's better to have a large group here. Wow, this is not what I expected. I thought it would be like really bony, right? But it's just really good. It's definitely worth it. Look at that.
That is the bottom of the clay pot rice. That's arguably the most important part of the clay pot rice, besides the eel, which of course has to be super fresh. Wow. And then the bottom part of it is very crispy.
You can get a piece.
And I love the crunchy and soft contrast. That's arguably the most important part of the clay pot rice, besides the eel, which of course has to be super fresh. Wow.
And they cook all their clay pot here over wood, traditional wood, by the way.
Yeah.
Which explains the higher price tag, right? Because it takes longer.
Yep.
But it's still worth the wait.
It's so worth the wait.
We were starving.
And if you notice, this place is packed. This whole entire dining room is filled, and every single person here is a local. How do we know they're a local? They're all speaking Taishan, Cantonese, Taishanese, and Cantonese.
After a full meal, we came to another village, Shangze Village. this village was built during the Ming Dynasty and features buildings built by immigrant returnees from Southeast Asia, the Americas, and Latin America. We started walking around and we met this really nice man who started chatting with us about the history of the town. 您在这边长大的，台山人。哦，哇！你亲戚有没有在美国？
没有，
没有。
我在这住了，
在这里
书呆了，我不想去美国。
没有，不想去美国，家乡好。
哎，只不过去做这里，
哎呀，对对对，
做美国做过很辛苦啊。我的女儿都不想去啊。
女儿想去啊？不想去，不想去啊，都不想去。
我两个女儿，一个在大门，一个在大门上班，一个在台山。在台山上班。不想做啊。一家人在一起好，这样的话多的不得了了，这人啊，真的啊，哇！这几年的很多我的年纪的全部去美国、加拿大的，全都去美国、加拿大了，全部在这里住，还剩我一个人，一直在这里。就你一家人在这，邻居朋友都去加拿大。我的朋友，身边的朋友全部是走了，80%。95%了。95了，哇！现在几个生活，我现在68了嘛。68。那身边的朋友全都去美国了。有没有回来？他们有没有回来看？来，我今天有2个人又回来。都回来看啊！哇！是。经常有时间打电话来噻，经常来打电话。在这里年纪大了，不想去哪里，不想去。反正唐人在美国也好，加拿大一样的裁缝工，都係炒啊。早有20-30年呢。女人呢，摘衣，这里，摘衣服，女人做衣服，男人摘草纺。讲了，现在呢，女人呢不出多少了，富庶的老人啊，7-8岁、9-10岁的都务工，是不是？年轻人不知道，你都不知道，我这本地，这美国。放个屁，我早上放屁，晚上我知道了。We kept driving, and I think this is one of the few villages we saw around here that are very traditional, but still had a lot of people living here. When you drive in, there's this dialo, right? Like it's very distinct from the other dialos, right? Because it had an arc, and you can actually like walk through it, right, on the bottom floors. But then we turned around, there were a few family temples, the Chen family temple. So I'm guessing a lot of people here are from the, Chen family. And we kept walking. We found this really old school theater. Look at those benches. I mean, I feel like I'm transported back to a time before my parents were even born. This is crazy. I don't know whether they still have shows here, but wow, just really, really incredible. I feel like this is a time machine. What kind of shows do you think they would? Cantonese opera or Taishanese opera? Yeah, just reminds me of, whether Taishanese opera is still being preserved either here in Taishan or overseas. I would imagine it's one of those things that would get lost, in his original homeland, but a lot of overseas Chinese might have kept it. In fact, we just watched a documentary about Cuban Chinese from Taishan. And yeah, there were few remaining people who kept up, who preserved Taishanese opera there. So just keep walking around. Just so far out, you need a car to get here, and I can't imagine, people are moving out of these villages to find better opportunities. Doesn't make sense to, commute from here. Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen to those villages, honestly. In my mind, I didn't know such traditional villages existed. In the north, we don't have villages like this. A whole town was, I guess we do, right? But like the whole town has the same, people with the same last name. This one is Chen, the other one's Weng, and the other one is Wu, right? All going through those villages really reminds me how important the family clan is in traditional Chinese culture, because all the people who donate
to, these villages are people from the same family clan, and you imagine, wow, this is why Chinese people are so traditional, because that's the only way to survive in the old times. You have to find a clan, a group, a community that can support you. Stay tuned for our next video where we'll chat with Professor Libi, a fourth-generation descendant of a Cuban American Chinese immigrant, about his family story and legacy. We will walk you through an exclusive tour of a private diaolo. You will not want to miss it. Subscribe to stay updated on our latest videos. We hope you enjoyed this video. As Chinese Americans who's been spent the past year exploring our ancestral homeland, we learned so much about our culture and identities and the diversity of China that we want you to be a part of our experience. We have 2 homecoming trips to Fujian and Guangdong provinces in November, December this year. Check out our website at www.fromrootstobridges.com where we have more information about these homecoming trips. Yeah, hope to see a lot of you there.